if you are gaining muscle from your training, you will see a general increase in your workloads. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about this. When it comes down to progressive overload, and again, I'm not talking about novice lifters, because obviously we do a lot of just linear progression for people in their first few months in the gym. All the best programs do that, and it becomes a bit of blurred lines there. But once you're through kind of that little bit of noob gain phase, you're through that honeymoon period, as a general rule, if you are not seeing a improvement in performance on your exercises, you're probably not gaining muscle. And I would almost suggest to you that there's a direct one-to-one comparison there. In other words, once you kind of have the novelty of an exercise, right, worn off, if you see an increase in performance, you're probably going to see a proportionate amount of muscle growth in the primary movers involved. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean progressive overload through any means necessary. Okay, and that's where the confusion is created, because every time the topic of progressive overload comes up, people will say, "So you're saying people should just throw heavy weight around?" No one is saying that. Like, no sane person is saying that. And my response to that is a borderline idiotic and moronic response. Okay, I want to be clear there. That if you think that's what we mean by progressive overload, you probably don't know anything about training. And I don't care how many years you've been doing it. Because what we are talking about is an increase in mechanical tension. Okay? Because that is what we're looking at. Is the tension that we are placing on the muscles increasing? Right? Are they able to produce more force over time? Well, that means that you need some sort of consistent metric for knowing if that's occurring. Meaning, if you are slinging around weight and cheating, well, then the amount of cheating you're doing has to be consistent. You can't cheat more or cheat less and still know that you're progressing. You have to cheat the exact same amount. So that's what we're talking about. The same thing with range of motion. So let's say that you were doing stuff really, really strict, right? But on your bench pressing, for example, you use a bigger or a smaller arch. Ooh. Well, you've now changed the mechanical tension on the muscle. Therefore, that's no longer really a valid comparison. Okay? Because where's most of the tension placed on the pectorals on the bench? At the very bottom. So if the range of motion changes at the bottom, those deeper joint angles, obviously mechanical tension on the pectorals is reduced. So we are no longer able to accurately assess changes in performance compared to the new range of motion. You can only compare what's been done through that range of motion, right? Because again, if we cut an inch out of the bottom of the bench press, we have substantially, potentially reduced mechanical tension on that muscle with any given weight. And we don't know exactly what percentage. We have no way to calculate that. So then you have to get a new metric with the new range of motion. But keep in mind, mechanical tension on the muscle is not the same as mechanical tension on the individual muscle fiber. So let's discuss that. Fatigue creates that tension. So in other words, the muscle fibers that we are concerned with are usually the faster twitch fibers because they have the most growth potential. Well, those muscle fibers don't get any mechanical tension until fatigue is sufficient or weight is heavy enough. Okay, what do we mean there? If you're doing an 8-rep set, a 10-rep set, whatever it happens to be, your nervous system will not recruit fast twitch fibers until it has to. It will not recruit them until it has to. It will go up the chain and use the weakest, most endurance-oriented fibers first, and those, when they start being unable to lift that weight anymore because they start to get a little tired after the first couple reps, your body will systematically go up the road towards the faster twitch fibers as it goes. Okay? As fatigue is generated through multiple repetitions, the mechanical tension placed upon individual muscle fibers starts to go up because they're taking more of the workload, right? So this is why when we talk about mechanical tension, hitting a 1 rep max will not always maximize mechanical tension on every muscle fiber. Okay? Their contribution might all be high, like every muscle fiber may be involved to some extent, right? But we need multiple repetitions to maximize that tension on an individual muscle fiber. So that's what we're looking for. So we're looking at, is that fiber being worked in that range of motion, right? Do we have the joint angles in a position to work that fiber, to put the most tension on it, and is enough fatigue being created? This is why we're looking at a trend in performance and progressive overload, okay? So is your 10 rep max going up? Is your 6 rep max going up? Are you able to complete more successful, proper repetitions with the same weight? Now, that's also progressive overload, okay? That's a perfect example. Let's say the most you've ever been able to bench press is 5 reps with 225. And over time, you're able to build up to do 3 sets of 8 repetitions with 225. Well, that's a substantial increase in workload. That's a substantial increase in progressive overload. That's substantial. You're going to have gained a significant amount of muscle from that. Plus, the overall fatigue generated on your pectorals, front delts, lateral head of the tricep, all that stuff is going to go up, right? And you're going to see more tension on those individual muscle fibers. And it's also a sign that they've all gotten bigger, okay? Because the workload itself is what stimulates hypertrophy, right? Creating that fatigue and that mechanical tension on each individual muscle fiber is what stimulates it to grow. Once that muscle fiber has grown, you should see a corresponding increase in performance, right? Now keep in mind that performance increase will be slow the longer you've been training. It will be slower because once neural drive and stuff is done and technique and everything is learned, pretty much your performance increases, whether it's weight on the bar, the number of reps you can do, assuming form and range of motion are consistent, will be a product of how much the muscle fibers have grown. Okay, that will then become the primary mechanism by which we see the performance increase once the technique and neural drive and motor unit learning is there for that movement. So again, if you are not seeing a increase in performance, you're probably not growing, or you're growing too slow to see the performance, and that will happen on a lot of exercises as you get more advanced, right? That is why we look for a general upward trend. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.